Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Fantasize. Its 5-year mission to finish a 3-hour tour.
A 3-hour tour.
Hello once again, welcome to the first of 3 beginnings of a Haphazard production. I'm your host, Lance Reynard, here to redefine shallow and to hope that I can create something that can be buried by the YouTube algorithms. Welcome back to another episode of Google Moon. That's right, Google Moon. We're going to be looking at the moon, the surface of the moon, the textures of the moon, the color of the moon, the sachet of the moon, the personality of the moon, because I am here to proudly redefine the depth of a relatively incoherent projection of condensable reason momentarily envisioned by the person watching this strange production. And I have never gone into, or looked at, or even known about this moon thing. Really, seriously, actually. See, it's got Earth, and I can go to Earth, and it switches over to, you know, absolute. There it is. There it is. The ball. The little marble. But see, then I didn't know you could go to the moon just by a little click of the old button, which is the way it'll be here soon. And I can't wait to go to the moon. By the light of the silvery moon with the big band-aid on it. I like this strip here. Just take a look at the main strip downtown. Strip, the moon strip. And see what the names are in here. Just relative. Hey, beer. Seriously. Okay. I don't commonly apologize for laughing. I commonly am much drier, but here's some beer on the moon, in case anybody was curious. And of course, Anne Bancroft had a crater named after her. Archimedes shows up as a huge hole. Thanks, Archimedes. And here we have Cineus Licinius, or Linnaeus, with Fishius. So just kind of taking a quick preview of some of the names in the strip of the moon stripe, okay, I suppose. And I have it directed in a northerly direction. And Bella Joma, and Rima Hadley, and Patricia. There's Michael and Patricia and Anne all together right here, with Kathleen kind of often over here with Rima Vladimir. I think he's a vampire. Ian and Kathleen, you know, Vlad, Rima. Oh man, I don't want to go too slow, but if I pick it up any further, I might as well be speaking Italian or French or tacos. Hey man, speak tacos. So now Joy is always, I mean, looking at these just relatively curious details about the moon. I wanted to get back to Earth here real quick. Good luck with that. But I'm going to go ahead and go back to the Earth. And, well, actually, this essay today is going to be a little bit about the moon and somewhat about the ley lines. Our social conditioning also is been just slamming me in the face all day with the attempt to create this prior to the production of, or the prior to the release of this. Ooh, yeah, here we go. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Prior to little dingy messages that you're hearing in the background as I speak. And it is a, let's just say this is about a geocentric and egocentric universe. We live in an egocentric universe, and too much of this may, I have to apologize ahead of time for the exposure of this egocentrism that I am discovering as a newbie to this work. Now, I have just been getting all of these messages from these fantastic stars, the stars of the silver screen. And here we have Brittany Spears. Okay, you're welcome. It was nice of her to ask me for money. I know Brittany's a little shy on cash, and so I don't know if you can see this quite well, but she's texting me over and over. I said, hey, if you're really Brittany Spears, send me a picture. Else, like me, here's my picture. So she sends me a picture. So it wasn't me. Katy Perry keeps sending me text messages. Somebody tell her to stop it. So this is Katy Perry with one of her fans. To re-edit this entire video just to add this part. But I thought it pertinent. Now, I am new to all of this. You'll notice in my community section I don't have any comments. I'm not familiar with it, and for me to put time into it, is YouTube. I mean, with YouTube here, let's go into YouTube. With all of the videos or all of the channels that I have subscribed to, I like to go through each of the people I subscribe to and check out the videos that they've put out. Martin Leedke, oi Martin, and he's got a couple of channels here. There are so many people, and as I'm mentioning, Suvi Bird, people that I have yet to look into. Now, I can see when I put out a video, I can see why it takes so long for people to actually get around to looking at the video that I've put out, because I have the same situation with myself and looking at other people's videos. And so, right, just beginning to understand this and just beginning to learn how to edit and to deal with all of the strange notifications. So I wanted to ask if this is happening to you people in the same respect and manner. I mean, if they're asking for money and they're already rich, I don't consider them to be real. I wanted to bring that up in the beginning of today's production, a little bit of this to help redefine shallow and to recreate some of how I put out what I put out. So thanks for bearing with this part, and we're going to get into the 3 items of today's issue right now. In this production, I will be looking at some of the Facebook information that a friend of mine put out dealing with the moon, the sun and the moon being out at the same time. If you research the photographs, all of the different actual photographs, or I should say videos, where the moon is on one side, and one observation I'd like to make here is that the light on the moon, you might say radiating from or emanating from, in my opinion, you see how it's even across, all the way across, top to bottom. It's an evenly lit. I believe if you were standing on that surface, you would be standing on a light, essentially. And that's my own humble personal consideration because of the emanation. That looks like an animation. However, in this upcoming video I'm about to show, you will see that the moon has an emanation and the sun is on one side of it, but the moon glows evenly as it does here. Now, this is something I think we should all pay attention to as a reality in our lives, that the sun glows. It's not the same color of light that is coming out and across, and it doesn't come out properly. One side should be lit up, the other side should be dark, as in, say, similar to this sort of an effect right here, which is another. And these are just curiosities. I'm not absolutely proving a point, but more looking at some informational details. All right, now this whole light, the moon emanating its own individual type of light. So if you're holding the moon, you'd look like this kid here, is a curious consideration, that the moon emanates its own light. And the more convincing sides of the, I don't know how you might say, other side, are these types of images right here, where you have, the obvious refraction of light coming from one side. So then, of course, then there's the eclipse type of light, where it seems as if a invisible dark planet actually covers, because when you have the sun over here, you really can't, and you go, well, that's the shadow of the earth. And so eclipses are also can really be picked apart from I mean, my personal view is we're not told the truth, whatever it is. And I'm more apt to believe in other darker spheres that we can't see, or, you know, they blend into what we look up at. And so, but when they block the sun or the moon, we blame the sun, the moon, and the earth for the blockage. So that's just my personal consideration, to be more apt to believe in what I want to, what I consider to be more realistic from being lied to viewpoint. But not only that, from the observational details that we can actually view for ourselves and see and measure. I mean, the experiments that have done with measuring moonlight, that have been done, that moonlight is colder than it is in the shade of the moon, and so that would indicate that if the light is colder, if the light is different than sunlight, which is warmer than it is in its own shade. So I wanted to bring up a couple of those details and curiosities, and not to hurt anybody's feelings, but to keep us thinking and working toward a positive nature direction in our own feelings and personal concepts. So I'm going to get into part of it here. Let's just go ahead and cut it later. Is that solar minimum? And I am kind of tired of looking at the solar minimum. You have some latest updates here of the grand solar minimum on YouTube and videos. I just put in solar minimum and these come up. Black star during the solar minimum. A black star. Solar minimum low. That looks pretty interesting.
The solar eclipse.
So looking at the black star here, I'm just going to pause this at a good moment where she's making a perfect symbol with the hands. Never heard of this individual personally, but I'm going to pause it here for a moment and see what it says down in this neck of the woods. This solar storm forecast is sponsored in part by Thuric. It must be Eric Johansson. Instagram sponsored. So, taking a look at the information from the Tamitha Scove channel. Never heard of it, but it is right up there on top. It's got 17,000 views, 28,000 subscribers, and sponsored in part by Thuric Johansson. And so let's just take a quick preview of this. Solar storm forecast is sponsored in part by And note, a high latitude sunspot is emerging in the southern hemisphere right now. It is likely upcoming solar cycle 25. If it persists, it will highlight in my next forecast. So yeah, if you want to check forecasts of the grand solar, if you want to check forecasts of the grand solar minimum, then head on over to this channel, Tamitha Scove. And it says the first has already rotated into the Earth strike zone and sending us a small pocket of fast solar wind. The disturbance has been extremely mild thus far and will likely bring only unsettled conditions and possibly some of the higher latitudes. And so after we settle down over the next couple of days, the second coronal hole will bump activity back up around Tuesday of next week, and we could get another chance of storming and aura at high altitudes. Storming and aurora at high altitudes, but only a minor chance of storming at mid-latitudes. Meanwhile, the bright regions are definitely decaying and only boosting the solar flux slightly. This means that amateur radio and emergency responders are still suffering with poor radio propagation on the Earth's day side. The only group who should be loving it right now, GPS, GNSS users. The mild disturbance and low solar flux combine to help improve reception, especially at the low altitude, so GPS users should enjoy decent reception all over the place. Catch up on some of our amazing views of our black star during totality. Okay, well, the checking out the black star details. As you know, in my haphazard universe, I like to point out some of the details, and special kudos to right. So this is a part of the consideration in the grand solar minimum, but the actual fact and ipso facto is how you're going to handle it. What are you going to do about it? And aside from just bundle up and wait the winter out sort of thing. That's part of it. But I think another huge part of it for so many truthers are the skies within which we live under. And so let's go ahead and take a quick look at the skies. And considering it is my son's middle name, I wanted to take a brief preview of the sky. Now I could go outside and use my phone, which I have done actually. It's quite exciting. But I wanted to bring in the sky because it is my son's middle name, Seven Sky. So once again, stay tuned for some more exciting and enjoyable information. I will return to give you some things you really need to know after this brief commercial message.
I think now's as good as any time to introduce the band. Serenading you on sax, we have Seven Sky Spelios on the best words.
Seven Sky Spelios. And after mentioning it was my son's middle name and showing him on the saxophone, I thought it might be wise to do a little anime here in the peak and height of wisdom in itself. Yeah, well, there are a lot of curiosities in our strange-natured universe that we can take time to consider, and what is, in the way between the sun and us is the sky. Now, whether or not you believe in the ball or believe in the biblical representation of the plane, doesn't matter as much as the fact that the atmosphere is in between us and the sun. And if the atmosphere is affected, and what is between also the sun and us is the obvious that we can see here, and very often that is added to by certain individuals with their machinery. And so what is added is being analyzed, being focused on quite a bit, and the layers that we live in is also part of the issue, and how those layers are being treated, and whether or not it obfuscates and obstructs our sunlight. So this is the curiosity of so many in the manipulation of that which is below, or occurs just under the strato layer, as they say, the sky, and the clouds, and whatever has been added to the clouds, because very often anything heavier within the cloud will eventually rain down, as it were, fall down upon us, shower down, sprinkle down, and otherwise frowny down. Cool little picture here of the Singapore sunset. Yeah. So these are part of the considerations that we have here in in our universe, in everyone's universe, in our haphazard universe, it's always fun to look at a lot of these particles that are up in the layers above us in our sky, and the irradiations and illuminations that occur that are so explicitly explained as little pieces of this and that, and whatever the explanation is, it sure does look cool. That's nice. The auroras in our lives. Looks like it's coming out of his head. Stop it! It's in Stewart Island, Australia. Australis. Australia. Alright. So, I like going through a few of these while I'm chit-chatting about the details, and in the bottom line final case analysis, what does it really, what difference does it make to have a better knowledge of things? Well, for one thing, what difference it may make for many, I know, and I've actually told my mother during one of our card games. We never gamble, by the way. It's always just for points and just for woohoo, Mom loves it, so we do it. And I was telling Mother was the what you look up and see very often. I mean, if there's a floating city being projected over China, when you look up and see things, you may be looking up at a projection in many cases. And so if you see big alien spacecraft hovering over the city, enjoy, because it is just a projection. And or if it's our people, it's our military, it's the controllers doing it, so fear not, they're just trying to push you in a direction. No big deal. I mean, hey, it happens every day when you watch TV or look at a commercial. You're being pushed in a direction, and inadvertently, you didn't ask for that kid to be screaming in your living room. All of a sudden, there it is, a child screaming away. Or with my projections during my, during my productions, these projections I'm making, big poo cloud of poo. Productions, projections, directions, we are all led in this way and that. When we look up, we have feelings. We've got feelings, and I am led by my feelings. When I look at the clouds, I look at the sun, I look at whether or not anything's being added or additives. And that's, the best way I can put these details at this particular time and juncture in the universe with which I am, working with and producing in, and, don't want to work with the old censorship detail, so I'll keep things light and fairy airy. Aside from the fact I do use footage right to the edge of copyright infringement, but but I keep it within an educational, informative, and commentary detail, in my opinion. Alright, so the only thing I want to know is, what's going to happen to this guy? 30 males who are shorter than you think. I mean, it's true, man. It's true. So the shocking truths are what I'm dealing with here in the haphazard. I mean, this man is a shocking truth in himself. I do not absolutely enjoy all of the work that I put out in the haphazard universe, and if you notice, I will far after any production, the actual information that I conveyed is, wow, can't believe I said half of those things. Twitter. What? There are only two things in life: those that are important and those that are unimportant. And all you have to do is watch the spinning wheel. Oh, what's really going on here? What's really happening? What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. This is an interesting image right here. In dealing with the greatest discoveries. Notice the parallel that the grand circle is on here. Quite interesting indeed. The axis point from the northern hemisphere, and then you have the locations of all of these grand structures. curious, I thought you might like to see that and investigate Jeff Kooper's post. Yeah, Jeff Kooper. Saw it on TV, so it's got to be true. Just ask Nixon. Cartoon time for the brainwashed. Now, I was looking for... Here it is. This video right here. All right. Now, when you take a look at the sun and the moon in this particular video, I'll zoom it in a little bit. Now, there's the moon over there, and the type of light that the moon is emanating. Now, you look back over here to the sun, and you see that it's setting with a much yellower light. And so, what we are looking at here is the difference. Alright, in this video, you see there's the sun over here, and then the moon clear over here, fully illuminated in a different coloration of light, and the sun setting over here. Right, because of the coloration, because of the angle, and the, alright, if the light is coming from over in this direction, it would be hitting this from a side, not having this glow in its own spectacular coloration. So these observations are quite obvious and evident. It's not, a secret. It's just something that can be looked at. Wanted to bring that up. So thank you once again, Jeff Kooper, for your astute observations and posts. Thanks for playing this particular episode. I'm going to leave with a couple of dolphins and go blither off into the ocean, redefining depth. So, like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to share. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for playing. Love ya.
Thank you.